Hi, my name is Alanna. I started yoga in college after I'd been diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid. At the time, I was a physics major and very left-brained. None of this yoga stuff ever entered my consciousness at all. But a good friend of mine kept encouraging me to try it, and after about a year, I finally relented. Interestingly enough, I was taking a Religions of South Asia course at the same time as I started my yoga practice. So along with learning how to do upward dog and downward dog and half moon pose, I was learning about the mythology of India, and I fell in love with the stories as much as I fell in love with the practice. My mother would say that I walked into the yoga studio and never walked out. There was just something about it. And what was most interesting to me was that as I was quantifying and measuring everything in my physics studies, I was feeling and experiencing things in my yoga practice that I really couldn't measure or put my thumb on. And it piqued my interest. I graduated right after September 11th and was unable to find a job. I couldn't afford to take my yoga classes anymore, so I went and did a teacher training, knowing that if I taught at a studio, I'd be able to take classes for free. I never intended it to be my full-time career, and in fact, I thought it was a great way to still go on job interviews because being a yoga teacher is such a flexible schedule. A year and a half later, I never found a real job, and so I figured it was time to take my yoga studies deeper. I did some more studying, did some more teacher trainings, and eventually moved to New York to immerse myself in the world of yoga that is Manhattan. While there, I continued to learn, but around 10 years or so ago, I started working with teacher trainings. I've always been passionate about education and learning, but also passionate about teaching others. My first job was as a teacher in a Montessori school, so I thought, well, hey, if I could teach kids, I can probably teach adults too. Little did I know how difficult it would be. And I learned a lot in the early years of my teacher training, but I got a leg up from some really powerful people who were able to develop my own skills as a teacher trainer very early on. And I'm grateful for that. It led me to some wonderful opportunities to write and lead teacher trainings for some of the top companies in the country and also around the world. I've been involved in teacher trainings now for about 13 years, and at this point have had thousands of people go through teacher training programs with me. A few years back, I wrote my own teacher training, which was unique because prior to that, I'd been working for other people the whole time. In my own teacher training, I was able to funnel everything that I was most passionate and excited about and give it to people with all my heart. With nothing behind me to say I can't say this or that, I just let it loose, and I loved it. But I couldn't reach that many people. It's a lot of time to spend an entire month with a small group of people, and I knew that there was more. In the meantime, around 2005, I learned about podcasting. I was told that anybody could do it, so I thought I would give it a try. And I became the first ever yoga teacher to do podcasts. It opened up a whole new world for me and showed me the power of working with the web to reach the world. I had students from Australia and far reaches of the globe that I'd never met. I eventually traveled to Australia to meet them. It gave me a sense of connectivity with the yoga community that I had previously not known. And I had had an interesting experience in the early days of my own career where I felt very isolated in my community and didn't have a lot of support in furthering my own yoga education. When I started doing the podcasts, I did it because I wished someone had done it for me. And so throughout the years, I have continued to find ways of bringing yoga education online in order to reach people who are otherwise not able to learn yoga, or who can't afford to learn and do yoga. I really wanted to make yoga accessible, but I never wanted to scrimp on the quality of what I was giving to people. My rule always in teaching is to do it with my whole heart. I don't want to leave anything out. If it's mine, it's yours. And as I teach and as I give you the teachings, I hope that it will set you free in your own practice. And I've endeavored to do that the best I can with everything I've done. A few years ago, I decided that I wanted to do an online teacher training program. I've been working with Yoga Download for over a decade, and they host all of my digital classes. They are a company filled with integrity and with yogis, so of course, why not? Well, it was a great idea, and it took a few years to get off the ground. And in fact, this teacher training program has been over a year in the making. Because again, I wanted to leave nothing out. I knew that bringing the teachings online would give me access to a whole different body of tools and technology that is otherwise unavailable in an in-studio training. With this online teacher training, I'm actually able to give you more than I would if I was teaching you in an in-studio training. It's funny, isn't it, how it works? But, I think back to when even the internet was first created and people resisted it. And now it's how we communicate with each other every day. I imagine it was similar when people first saw electricity, but they really wanted to hang on to the oil lamp for light. Well, we all use electricity now. This is really the first time that anybody's doing an online teacher training like this. We're using educational software. I have a team of mentors that guide you through the program every step of the way, again, because my goal is to make sure that you have everything you need for your practice and to become an excellent teacher. So, it's new, and it's exciting, and for me, it is a dream come true, because I'm providing education in a way that I believe in the most accessible manner possible, but without leaving anything out. When I fell in love with yoga, I simultaneously fell in love with the philosophy and the mythology of yoga, and I'd always pursued that as an interest and kept wanting to learn more. Eventually, in 2010, I published my first book, Myths of the Asanas, again, as a way to create education in an accessible way for people who wanted to learn more. So that book is about the mythology behind some of our favorite poses. Where did the pose names come from? Why do we call Virabhadrasana the fierce warrior? Who is this Hanuman of Hanumanasana, the splits pose? That passion for mythology led me more deeply into the study of myth, and eventually I went to grad school to get my PhD in mythology. While in grad school, I published my second book, Sacred Sound, which talks about the mythology behind some of our favorite chants and mantras, once again, with an emphasis on accessibility, trying to bring these things to life for a modern-day audience. I finished up my PhD, and my next big adventure is this online teacher training with Yoga Download. The effects of yoga on my own life have been immeasurable, whether it be from helping me to manage my thyroid disorder successfully, whether it be to changing my outlook on life and the world, whether it be to changing my mind so that I can find some space for new ways of thinking, or opening my heart to forgive any of the things that have happened to me in the past. All of those things have happened through yoga. I couldn't be more grateful to the practice, but I also couldn't be more grateful to the community. Yoga is my life. These are my friends, this is my family, these are the people I teach, these are the people who inspire me, and I want nothing more than to give back in a way that both truly honors the traditional roots of yoga, but in a way that is accessible for the modern practitioner.